Welcome to The Secrets of Success. By following the proven techniques of the guests who appear on this series, you'll learn that even successful people run into detours and failures, and how you can apply their success techniques to change your life.
You're now listening to the most unique show on radio, the show dedicated to making you a success. So you want to come up with a new app? Well, then you want to listen to the advice of our guest, Eliza Harkins. Eliza, thanks for being with us today.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
Eliza, you've come up with an app called Kipit. Am I correct?
I have, yeah.
All right.
Yes.
Now, you have to tell our audience, what is Kipit?
Yeah, so Kipit is kind of a must-have for anyone, for you or anyone you know who is a naturally forgetful person with their things. Just like myself, I'm always forgetting whether it be my passport or my wallet or my headphones. I have a tendency to leave things behind. So what Kipit does to kind of remedy this is it's a device that you Velcro into your bag, any bag or suitcase that you already own, and it tracks everything that you take in and out. And if you do forget something, it sends a reminder to your phone automatically that you're leaving something behind. So you'll know before your trip that you've forgotten your headphones before you're even out the door.
And this is kind of amazing because I was telling you before the show, I'm that person who, even if I've checked my bag 5 times, as soon as I pull the car out of the driveway, I go less than half a mile. I have to pull over because in my mind, I've either forgotten pills, glasses, one sneaker, a shoelace or something. But this would stop all that, correct?
It would, yes. And I wouldn't recommend doing this while driving, but at any time you can go on the app, you can scan the contents of your bag and it will tell you what's in there and what's missing.
Now, did you come up with this? Was it a team? Was it a project or the result of a term paper or something?
So I did come up with this. I was doing my MBA at Cornell and I was learning about technology and how to use it and the different use cases and thinking of my own ideas. Some of them were quite lofty, but the one that seemed to resonate with people was that I would go to school every day and I would always forget my notebook. I would forget my gym shoes for my gym class after class. And so I just said one day, like, why isn't my phone telling me, it tells me all kinds of other things. Why isn't it telling me that I'm forgetting something super important to my day? And the more people I talked to, the more stories I heard, from travelers who had to delay their flights or parents whose life just became, 10 times more chaotic because they didn't remember a specific item that they needed, all kinds, real estate agents who, their showing was delayed or something because they didn't have the thing that they needed. Just kind of coming from all corners of life. And there didn't seem to be a product that really hit the nail on the head for what people wanted to do, which was something that was integrated into their lives already, that didn't require a lot of action from them. And so I came up with this and I partnered with other schoolmates and different graduate degrees. And then, went on with professionals to actually develop the product to be released, which will be released at the end of this year.
I'm thinking, Eliza, that the two groups that come to my mind would first be and because I'm a grandparent, a young child who you get on vacation, you have 15 bathing suits and T-shirts, but they have to have the green one with the dragon on it, and they'll go into hysterics if they don't have that. So to me, that would be the first class of people. And the other would be the extreme as people get older. And well, even in the middle, as you said, the mom who's busy or the dad, so much is going on around them, the kids, the business operation, that they just don't have time to remember that the phone is ringing, etc. And they forget their pills or their glasses or the report that they were supposed to take to the meeting that they're going to lecture on.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's, from a lot of people, the stories I hear about a lot, the common themes I hear are added stress, which, we don't need any more added stress given how hectic our lives already are. And then there's a level of embarrassment, like especially from parents. It's embarrassing to be the parent of the one kid who didn't bring their violin to orchestra practice, and things of that nature. You don't want to be caught unprepared. So it really does touch a lot of people's lives, and it's a kind of problem that you don't think about until it happens, and then it really just is a snag on your whole day.
Now, Eliza, you're an Ivy League graduate. You have an MBA. Basically, you check all the boxes. Did you say to yourself, wait, why do I want to do this? I mean, if I miss one category in doing something, this could fail, or somebody across the country or in another country could be doing the same thing, where I could go out and get a job, make oodles of money, have a nice health plan and 4 weeks vacation and free lunch.
Wow. Well, yeah, you put that in stock terms. And I did have a job. I worked at Bloomberg prior to this. So I was in exactly the sort of life I thought I would be leading. The only problem was I wasn't really happy. I think I've always wanted to create something that solved a problem, create a solution that didn't exist beforehand. I think I've always been, I could charitably call it independent. I'm sure my family would call me headstrong. And so I've just been in love with forging my own path. I will say that, I have the ability to do it, and access is always like a big question in terms of entrepreneurship. So in many ways, I'm very lucky. But you do need that independent spirit. So
it sounds like you really, seriously are an entrepreneur. We all like to call ourselves that because we've run a lemonade stand or we sold a few old garage items. But you really were working. You could have taken the easy path, the vacations, the health plans, etc. But you felt this is the idea that's going to take you forward, and you acted on it. Is that basically it in a nutshell?
Yeah, I would say so. I think I just was interested in this problem space and this kind of need that people had that really wasn't being addressed by anything else. It would be impressive to come up with a new social media app, but people are pretty connected, So I was interested in the problem space and how little there was currently to address it. And I was interested in being able to use technology that existed, but in a brand new way. So I think all of that combined has been pushing me forward. So I don't know where it will end up. It could still fail. But my dream up until this point, I know this is going to sound a little bit like a low bar, but like my dream has always been that I'm going to make 1 unit of Kipit and sell 1 unit of Kipit to someone who isn't my mother, like a stranger who truly needs this product, and I can provide it to them. And then after that, everything's gravy. If it fails completely, then you know what? I still consider it a success because I still saw a problem, came up with the solution, delivered on the solution.
It sounds to me almost like you're the ball player who you got to the major leagues. And if you get into one game and get the hit, you've been there. Now, anything, if you have a 20-year career, that's great. But even if it's a 2 or 3 or 4 year career, you're still a major league player. And quite honestly, you really are. Just to come up with it and get it this far, and we're going to be asking you about the problems, et cetera, and things that came up. But before we go into that, I'd like to let our audience know that if you're just tuning in, you're listening to The Secrets of Success on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC. I'm Bill Horan. Our guest today is Eliza Harkins. She is the founder of Kipit, Kipit, And Eliza, can you tell us, is there a website where we can learn more about this product? And I'm sure a lot of people are going to want to know, where can they get it? How can they get it?
Yeah, absolutely. So the website is www.kipit.co. So that's KIPIT.co.
Easy enough to remember, and we'll ask you that again later on, but we want to find out about your journey. Now, for any entrepreneur, you've decided something pushed you over the top that you said, I'm going to really do this. It's not just an idea. I'm going to do it. How long did it take you to get to the point and say, oh my gosh, am I crazy? What am I doing here? Was it 10 minutes or 10 days?
Yeah. I have to say it was quite quick. My background had been in creating digital products, which, not to knock, websites and apps and stuff. They have their challenges, but creating a physical product on top of that opens up a whole new ballgame. And I think you have to jump into these things with some degree of naivete, which is what I did. Because I was like, how much more difficult could it possibly be? The answer was very much more difficult. But, I've gained experiences I could never have imagined. But yeah, I regularly think to myself, this is like, I have done something insane, and
Now, what about putting together a team? You're a young person, a college graduate, have your master's, but you needed a team around you. What did your team consist of? What type of experts, specialists, and how did you put them together?
Yeah, so obviously, since there's an app, there's software developers, but then there's also the hardware developer for the actual product. We also have a designer, and then someone with the sort of the legal wherewithal to get us our patent and things of that nature. And then now that we're at the launch stage, I've been working with several US-based manufacturers to bring this product to market. And they're a pretty essential part of the team because they can make all kinds of suggestions to how the product is constructed, how it's packaged, all of that stuff. They bring a fair amount of expertise to what to do, which is very exciting.
Now, Eliza, you have the idea, you have your team together, but in fairness to your team, I'm going to guess legal, accounting, engineers, technical people, they have to be paid. And they're saying, it's great that you have an idea, but we're putting in time, money, and just suppose, they realize you're new at this, and suppose you change your mind or decide that you want to be an astronaut or something, maybe you'll go and do something different. Where does the capital, the funding come from? How did you go about that?
Yeah, so I guess one piece of the story that I skipped over was that when I came up with this idea, while I was still in school, we were able to pitch it as a startup pitch competition at the end of my program. I think there were about 50 teams competing, and we were one of the winners. And that came with $100,000 cash prize. So
that's a nice start.
That was a good start. And then from there, we were able to raise additional funds from a family, friends, pre-seed stage. And then I think, in the future, I would like to do sort of a crowdfunding Kickstarter to kind of get us, properly going. But yes, there's that, it's part of the amazing luck that I've had so far in my journey is the people who have been willing to give their time, give their advice, because I think a lot of people have connected with the vision that I'm presenting. And that's kind of my advice for any entrepreneur, is that you have to be, I don't even think, you probably should have expertise in something, but I think more importantly, you need to be crystal clear on this vision of what you're doing, because like when you have that, like you attract people, like they see what you're seeing if you can really paint that picture. And they want to help because it's exciting. So I think I've been able to do that, and I've been able to connect with people, and so many people have been so kind to me as I've brought this along. Not to say everyone's worked for free, like nothing like that. I just mean.
Was there one person who, whether a professor or an old friend, or maybe just someone in a restaurant, a waitress who said paint it blue or something, was there somebody who gave you a tip and you said, oh my gosh, that's really good, whether it's, just kind of a motivational tip or a physical tip, how to package it, etc.? Was there one thing that stands out for you?
That's a good question. I think I've just had several moments where, I've been thinking about this for so long now, and I'm so like ingrained in the process and the product. And sometimes, I think, oh, there's some problem and there's no way I'm going to get over it. And then I'll meet someone brand new and they ask me what I do, and I just explain generally what the product is. And they're hearing it for the first time and they get newly excited about it. They're like, oh, I didn't know that sort of thing could exist. And then it gets me like reinvigorated about the thing that I'm doing. Because, especially in quarantine, it wasn't as though we were like meeting new people very regularly. And so it was quite easy to get disconnected from the types of people that I'm really trying to help. So I think that's like a huge one.
Now, the physical product itself, if I understand, this is kind of some type of device that you would put in your suitcase or knapsack or something like that. Is that correct?
Yeah, it sort of Velcros in, almost like a liner. But it's easy to install. I mean, yeah, you just.
Well, it's easy for you because you're smart. But for someone like me thinking about this, I'm saying now you have to think Velcro, that it has to have a part of it that has Velcro to be Velcroed into it, and it has to be produced someplace. So now you got to have a great idea, great concept. People like it. You got the money. But you have to have it made someplace. I'm just thinking myself, I would be at a loss. Like, where would you go? Do you go to a local factory or another country, or is there a world that specializes in Kipits?
Yeah, no, that whole process has been really interesting. And again, something that I knew nothing about going in. So that's been like pretty fascinating. I'm quite interested in working within the United States. I'd love it to be kind of locally produced. So I have been able to find some really great manufacturing partners. Again, it kind of comes back to the networking. I guess the other, aside from explaining your vision, I think like having, especially if you're like doing work networking type things, like having some crystal clear like asks of people or like things you really need at the time can be really helpful. Because I'm pretty sure I was just at a cocktail party before the pandemic, being safe, and someone in early 2020, and I was talking about my product, and they were saying like, well, what's the next step for you? And I was like, I really need to find a manufacturer with a die cut, which is, so specific. And they were like, oh yeah, like I know Frank, like he does that. And so I was able to get in touch with them that way. So yeah, just like being able to be clear on like the things you really need at that moment, you'd be amazed at like, who knows, like what person,
Eliza, what is your best characteristic? If you were analyzing yourself from a distance, are you that person who's the expert in sales? Are you the numbers person who in your head can say, oh, this is going to take 12 days, 15 minutes, or it's going to be a $50,000 commitment? What personality factor about you and personal factor is the most important that's been helping you?
Well, so I think it has, I mean, it honestly has less to do with like technical skills, which are obviously important. But I think success in this requires a couple of things, which I've hinted at several times, I guess, as we've been talking. But one is definitely that persistence, aka stubbornness factor. When you have a new idea and you're thinking about things differently, you are going to be told no many times, often kindly, but people will say things along the lines of it can't be done, or it shouldn't be done, or, this aspect won't work. And I think just being able to push through that or work around it, or maybe things don't work quite in the time frame or quite in the way that you'd originally imagined, but if you can still move forward, then you can. And then I think the other thing, and I've talked about this before, like I truly believe that every single business, like no matter what, it needs to come from like an emotional truth is what I like to say. Like for mine, it's that like the truth is that we all want our lives to like flow as smoothly as possible so that we feel on top of things and not kind of succumb to the like chaos. But I think even a software that like does HR services for companies, you might think that's all just numbers or all just cold hard rational facts, but that's not true. There's still an emotional truth, which is usually that people want to be better at their jobs and more competent at their jobs so that they feel good about themselves. I think it's a fallacy to just think of things in terms of numbers. There's always a human emotional element that's in everything, and I think being able to tap into those when you can really like hit that, it's so powerful. It really transforms everything if you can really get to that kernel.
Eliza, once again, I want our audience to know, if you're just tuning in, you're listening to The Secrets of Success on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC. I'm Bill Horan. Our guest today is Eliza Harkins. She is the founder of Kipit. And Eliza, will you tell us where can we get more information? Is there a website? Absolutely.
There is a website. It is www.kipit.co. That's KIPIT.co.
Really easy to remember, KIPIT.co. And we're finding out from you all of the adventures of an entrepreneur. We all want that app till we find out how much work is involved. And then we say to ourselves, oh my gosh, it's not easy being a founder, a startup, etc. Let me ask you, what is one of the myths of having your own startup? Is there something you found out that everybody was telling you goes one way and you say, wait, that's not true at all?
I think one of the biggest myths is that there is a sort of all or nothing approach where like either it's so difficult or it's like the most amazing thing ever and you're willing to like sacrifice everything to be successful. What I've learned is that this is a job. Like it's sort of a job like any other. There are some days that are highly mundane and like really all I do that day are sending emails. Sometimes I have it, very exciting days where I have meetings, like to talk to investors or like to pick out the designs or to speak on the radio. But a lot of it is just it's pretty mundane. Like it's a job just like any other, and you're not going to love every single aspect. I still procrastinate pretty regularly on my bookkeeping, much to my accountant's chagrin, just because, bookkeeping is not something that I'm super fascinated by. There's always going to be elements, just like any job. I think there's a myth that like if you're not 100% happy and thriving and working every single second of the day, then like you shouldn't be an entrepreneur. And I think that's an unrealistic standard.
Now, if you were looking back, which already you're just starting, but is there one thing that you would change or do differently, or would you say gee, I made a mistake by painting it red, or I would change the name of it or something?
Well, I've already made a great deal of mistakes. I think that's, again, just par for the course. And there's, of course, the cop-out answer, which is like, oh, if I hadn't made any of these mistakes, I wouldn't be where I am today, type, which is true. I definitely think the most important decisions that you will make, far and away above anything else, is who you work with. I've definitely wasted time, resources, and just like emotional labor on the wrong people. And then when you find the right people, like things just fit into place. So many, even if I've mistakenly painted something red, you know what, that can be fixed. But bringing the people who have the right skills and the right attitude to a project is so difficult. And if you do it wrong, it really gums up the works. And when you do it right, you achieve amazing things.
Now, let's say someone comes up to you and says, you know, you're just the kind of person I'd like to work with. I like the way you handle things. You've got the right background. You've got Kipit. They almost like a Shark Tank. They come up to you with a really good idea and want you to be either a partner or an investor, and you agree with them. What is one or two of the lessons that you've learned first time through that you'd say, now I'm going to apply it, or I'm going to help you with this, so, you know, we move quickly and we're successful?
Yeah, I definitely feel like I have a pretty clear set of process steps of everything that needs to happen from zero to launch, which I feel like doesn't super exist in, like, there's no book. I do have several like startup checklists and stuff, but there's no book that really like walks through the process of everything that you need to do. So, you know, I've spent a lot of time just figuring out, I'm like, I know where the end point is, but like, where do I, like, what do I do like right now to like get there? So that roadmap doesn't really exist, but now I have a pretty good idea of what that roadmap consists of. That's probably one. And then again, to harken back to what I said before, I have a pretty good idea of the people that are required to bring something like that about, you know, depending on what the thing is.
Yeah, that sounds like a great tip. And Eliza, once again, I want our audience to know before we wrap up, our guest is Eliza Harkins, and she is the founder of Kipit, K-I-P-I-T. And Eliza, tell our audience where they can find out more. Give us that website just one more time.
Yeah. One more time. It's www.kipit.co.
Easy to remember, KIPIT.co, correct?
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Eliza. Lots of great luck to you. I'd like our audience to know you've been listening to The Secrets of Success on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC. I'm your host, Bill Horan, asking you to please join us again next week at the same time when we will continue our journey to success.